Pokemon Pokopia just got its review scores, and I don't think any of us were ready for this. A 90 on Metacritic, a 93 on OpenCritic. This makes Pokopia a spin-off, the highest rated Pokemon game of all time. Not just spin-offs, we're talking about every Pokemon game ever. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, 87. Pokemon X and Y, 88. Pokemon Emerald, Legends Arceus, none of them even cracked 90. And here comes this cozy little Ditto game, the building game that a lot of people were sleeping on, and it has shattered the record. So today we're breaking down every major review, what critics loved, what they didn't, and why this might genuinely be a Game of the Year contender in 2026. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's look at the numbers real quick because they speak for themselves. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. GameSpot, 9 out of 10. Game Informer, 9 out of 10. VGC, a perfect 5 out of 5. And Dexerto, a perfect score. Gaming Bible called it a Game of the Year contender and gave it a perfect score as well. Games Radar, 4.5 out of 5. Game Reactor, 9 out of 10. Nintendo Life called it one of the most enticing Pokemon games ever, and even Eurogamer, who are historically pretty tough on Pokemon, gave it a 4 out of 5. And that's the wild thing to me. This isn't just reviewers being nice. When you look at what they're saying in these reviews, the enthusiasm is genuine. IGN called it a real treat that appeals to both creative players and collectors. VGC said it takes the best bits from the champions of the cozy genre and evolves it into something that Pokemon fans and cozy gamers will love. Dexerto says it reimagines what it means to be a Pokemon and delivers one of the most addictive gameplay loops the series has ever seen. These aren't polite scores, these are genuinely people obsessed with the game, and I'm super stoked. So what's actually making these reviewers lose their mind? Let me break down the biggest things everyone keeps praising. The habitat system. This is the core loop and every single review calls it out. You're not catching Pokemon in Pokopia, you're building environments to attract them. 4 tiles of grass might bring a Bulbasaur. Grass plus trees and plus flowers might bring a Scyther. A punching bag and a weight bench, that's Hitmonchan territory. And there are almost as many habitats to discover as there are Pokemon in the game. VGC's reviewers said the loop of building new habitats to find Pokemon never loses its joy, even after 100 hours. And the Pokemon aren't just decorations once they show up, they work. They farm, they mine, they run shops. Each one has the ability that actually matters for progression. Scyther teaches you cut, Squirtle teaches you water gun, Charmander lights things on fire. It turns this whole game into an interconnected puzzle where every Pokemon you find unlocks new possibilities. The writing, and this has me super stoked and surprised me the most. Multiple reviewers called out how funny this game is. VGC specifically said the writing is sharp and has jokes for both younger players and adults. And as someone who's gonna play with my daughter, this gets me super stoked as well. They mentioned this detail where Pokemon find a map of Kanto and hang it upside down on the wall because they have no idea what humans would use it for. That's pretty clever. Gaming Bible said Pokopia showcases the type of reinvention you want to see in a franchise's 30th year. That's some insane praise. And the mystery story, where did all the humans go? Why is Kanto in ruins? Apparently they keep you guessing all the way through the 40 to 50 hours of campaign. That's way more narrative depth than anyone expected from the cozy building genre. And the freedom. Gaming Bible made a huge point about this. They said there's none of the typical life sim stuff where early hours feel slow and time gated, and I'm feeling that right now playing Animal Crossing with my daughter. From the jump, you can explore, build, terraform, go wherever you want to go. Every block in the world is yours to change. Nintendo Life called it the most free a Pokemon game has felt in a long time, which is crazy considering we've moved to open worlds over the last couple years, so how do you beat that? And the content. This is where things get crazy. VGC's reviewer played over 100 hours, I'm a little jealous, and said they were still finding new Pokemon, new habitats, new items, new furniture, and even whole selections of areas they hadn't even discovered. There's farming, mining, cooking, music creation, furniture customization, and a full 4-player multiplayer system. One reviewer on OpenCritic described it as having virtually infinite potential. And performance and presentation is a big deal. After Scarlet and Violet, people were nervous, myself included, but Pokopia runs at a locked 60 frames per second on Switch 2. Multiple reviewers praised the new pop art visual style, and the soundtrack, VGC called it incredible. It features remixes of Junichi Masuda's classic Kanto themes, plus music from across the entire 30-year history of Pokemon. You can find CDs hidden throughout the world and build your own playset. That's such a sick detail. Now there's a few features that came out in these reviews and recent coverage, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on, so let me give you guys the rundown. First, Dream Islands. That's right, Dream Islands. Does anyone else remember the Dream Radar? So there's a Drifloon in the game, and once a day, it'll literally pick you up and carry you to a random deserted island. These islands are loaded with resources, new recipes, and items you can't find on your main map. And here's the clever part. You show Drifloon a specific doll, like a stuffed animal Pokemon, and that influences which type of island you get taken to. So if you're desperate for iron or a specific crafting material, you can target your run. It's giving Mystery Island tours from Animal Crossing, but way more strategy baked in. Screen Rant specifically called this out in their review and loved it. Second, Cloud Islands, and this one's huge for multiplayer fans. So Pokopia has these shared islands where up to 4 players can build together at the same time. But here's the thing, your friends can keep building even when you're offline. There's no limit on total participants either, so you can have a dozen friends all taking turns working on the same island at different times. It's basically a Pokemon Minecraft server, and for my longtime fans, you guys know about Pixelmon. This is a first for a Nintendo game, and honestly, Animal Crossing fans might just be jealous. And third, DJ Rotom. There's a brand new Rotom form in this game. You collect CDs hidden throughout the world. We're talking classic Pokemon soundtracks from across the entire 30-year history of the franchise, and you bring them to DJ Rotom to build your own custom playlist. It's pretty sick. And then of course my boy Chef Greedent. Anyone out there remember Hey Kids? He's gonna teach you cooking. Every Pokemon has a different food preference, so you're experimenting with recipes to keep everyone happy. And there's a Ditto hide and seek multiplayer mode where you can literally transform into random objects and have friends find you. I never thought I'd be playing Prop Hunt in Pokemon, but I am so here for it. The amount of stuff packed into this game is genuinely insane for a spin-off. And I think we need to have some serious conversations about this because the previous Pokemon spin-offs have not been of this caliber, and yet here comes Pokopia in left field. Now look, no game is perfect. The reviewers do call out a few things, some criticisms. The biggest one is the late game grinding. Several reviewers mention that towards the end of the story, there's a momentum dip where you need to raise environmental levels or find very specific items, and the game doesn't always make it clear how to do that. That's one more reason why you should subscribe to the channel, so that way I can give you guys those guides. VGC noted that some habitats require extremely specific items, with little indication on how to discover them. It sounds like the endgame asks for a little bit more patience than the rest of the experience. Loading times between zones also came up. VGC explained that this is probably because the game saves the position of every single item you placed or left in the world, which after 100 of hours is a lot, but the loads can be frustrating when you're bouncing between areas to finish those last few habitats. Nintendo Life mentioned some minor control issues with block breaking. Aiming your punches up, down, or ahead can be a little fiddly, and you'll accidentally break blocks you didn't mean to. And there was a notable outlier. The Gamer gave it a 3 out of 5. So not everyone is fully on board, but when you look at the overwhelming consensus, those criticisms are pretty minor compared to what the game is getting right. No Pokemon game has ever scored 90 or above on Metacritic. The previous record holder was Pokemon Y with an 88, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, the fan favorites that people consider the GOAT, 87. Pokemon Black and White, 87 as well. Even the original Red and Blue only scored 89 in their re-review aggregate. And this isn't even a mainline game, this is a spin-off made by Omega Force, the Dragon Quest Builders team, in collaboration with Game Freak. On OpenCritic, Pokopia is ranked in the 99th percentile of all games. That's not just best Pokemon game territory, that might be Game of the Year territory. Multiple outlets are already calling it a Game of the Year contender, and we're only in March. Gaming Bible's headline literally says, Game of the Year contender that's consuming all of my waking hours. Digitech Magazine said, and this is a real quote, Pokopia is better than anything the mainline series has delivered in the past decade. That is an incredibly bold statement, but looking at these numbers across the board, it might be hard to argue. So here's what I think is the bigger picture. Pokopia proves something that a lot of us have been saying for years. When Pokemon takes its time and tries something genuinely new, magic can happen. Legends Arceus showed us that. That's one of my favorite games of all time, and now Pokopia is showing that on an even bigger scale. And let's not forget about the little bit of extra time in the kitchen for Winds and Waves. That could be monumental. This was the largest team ever assembled for a single Pokemon game. Game Freak and Omega Force working together, switched to hardware giving them room to breathe, and instead of rushing it out the door, they cooked. They actually cooked. Chef Greedent showed up in a big way. And think about what this could mean moving forward. If Pokopia can hit a 90 on a Metacritic as a spin-off, what can Winds and Waves do in 2027 with even more development time and the Switch 2 from the ground up? The bar has been raised not just for spin-offs, but for the entire Pokemon franchise. It is a great time to be a Pokemon fan. So listen, the question is, should you pick up Pokopia when it drops on March 5th? If you like Pokemon games and you like Animal Crossing, Minecraft, Dragon Quest Builders, Stardew Valley, or even Viva Pinata, this is a no-brainer. Every review says the same thing. The loop is addictive, the content is massive, and you will lose track of time. My productivity is about to go in the drain, and if you're someone who only plays Pokemon for competitive battling and the traditional RPG experience, this might not be your thing. There's no battling, there's no catching in the traditional sense. It's definitely a different kind of game, but I'm all for it. And honestly, even if you're skeptical, the reviews are telling us this game transcends its genre. OpenCritic described it as standing alongside the best cozy games ever made. At 70 bucks, you're getting a game that reviewers are sinking well over 100 hours into and still finding new things. And that's a pretty good return on investment. That is your Pokopia review breakdown, the highest rated Pokemon game of all time. A 90 on Metacritic, multiple perfect scores, a genuine Game of the Year contender, and the game's not even out yet. I'm going to be streaming this day one on March 5th. We're going to be building, discovering, finding Pokemon, getting our bug boys, and having an absolute blast together on our live stream. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you do not miss out on our epic Pokopia coverage. Drop a comment down below. Are you picking up Pokopia, and who are you going to add to your squad?